It's actually pronounced Drakoos, Vedius, and Dagda, but that's an alternate version. Here we are. There's a lot of pink happening today. Yeah. I don't know how we ended up in this particular color combo, but wiser minds.
Fantastic, though.
Yes, we do. You look stunning, Rob. Both
Thank
of you. You too, Mike. You're my favorite youth pastor. Tell us more about our Lord and Savior, Baron Nashor.
Well, today we are blessed by a wonderful League of Legends game, G2 versus Fnatic. A classic, some could say. Our players will walk onto the stage and onto the Rift. A rivalry that is nearly as old as the LEC itself. Not quite, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
And we're in for a banger. Now, many expect this to be a one-sided affair, and that's usually the situations where we get 5 games, gentlemen. So I'm optimistic that Fnatic have prepared some interesting stuff for us today, but let's see as we get ready for draft.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how this draft tries to pan out, because we've already seen a lot of flexibility coming in from our games yesterday with like things like the brand starting to rise up that little bit more on priority. But even when you look at like Humanoid's solo queue history, he's been spamming a ton of Lucian, all these kind of stuff. Like he wants to try and nail down these AD mid laners. So I think we're going to see a ton more flexibility on both sides of the draft here.
And what was once Tristana, you know, maybe something else, has just evolved into every single AD showing up in mid lane, which has been a thrill for the solo queue enthusiasts.
Is Ashe to come back into mid, and we're back where we started.
Bring back my Scion Morgana bot, Season 1.
Look, there are going to be people watching that have no idea what we're talking about, but it's
true. And
there
are going to be people who do, and they're going to think that that was a good time.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Rose-tinted glasses. It was a bad time for League of Legends.
Was great.
No. Good it's removed, and good that Zeri's removed, honestly. The flex pick, obviously something that has been good. And as you highlight, Rob, 80 a big focus for Humanoid.
That's 480 carry bands.
So what is going to be left?
Bands as well.
Rumble, a really high priority champion, a lot of the AP jump.
Yeah, I think it's Rumble, Corki, Brand are all kind of the I'm keeping my eyes on here to see what happens. But I do think with Rumble gone, Brand probably should go for, well, could be the Corki, but I was going to say G2 tend a lot towards the LPL and LCK style, which is definitely seen a way higher priority on the Ezreal.
Interesting. So they'll look at the flexibility. We would assume that it is going towards caps. Han Summer's usual champion priority. That flexibility is something that G2, throughout their history, have leveraged, and something that keeps their opponent guessing. Fnatic, though, they have a lot of options. Sejuani has been a high priority for many. Lucian gonna come out on Fnatic, so a strong AD and AP mid-jungle duo.
Yeah, and I think you just lock in the Brand then on the opposite side, match AP, and more than likely Leoona come through for Mikyx as well. This has kind of been their go-to support for him in a lot of situations. Strong high.
That now they can look to remove the annoying options, things like Nah from Broken Blade, maybe tank options that he may bring out to the top.
I am a little nervous though, because of a quick glance at BB's solo queue history, and he's been spamming a ton of anti-Renekton. So like the Varus top off the board, the Nico AD that we saw yesterday as well. There's a lot of these Broken Blade has kind of been messing about with, so it was very all of the picks from this potential draft.
Similarly, the Twisted Fate is kind of the old classic, right? Has wayside in terms of, you know, the flashier Varuses and Nikos, seeing more of in solo queue, but still come out in the context of this draft overall. Braum going to be taken away here. Do not want anything that can mitigate the impact of at least the Lucian and certainly any other AD carries. Braum is a frustrating support to deal with.
I'm thinking about this Jayce pick as well. Ezreal, Jayce, Brand. Think of the poke, right? It's such an obnoxious draft to have to deal with. If they do go for the Nico, it gives them a little bit more initiation. Of course, Broken Blade, we mentioned it earlier, but he could just go for a tank too. There are plenty of Weather the Storm top lane options that he could go for. That's kind of what Broken Blade has evolved into as a player. We've talked all year about where he sits in Europe as the best top laner, and his pool just seems so expansive. He's always the innovator when it comes to new top lane picks in Europe.
Well, not just the innovator, but also kind of this backup, you know, win condition has often been the case when he's picking up things like the Camille, right? He is a guy who can lose gracefully and then come back in the game in a real way, or be the kind of player who will pick the Zax, as he did at MSI, be that playmaker, something and a role that Oscar is no stranger to either. Now Fnatic debating. Pick 4, have not revealed 100% where the Lucian is going. Still do assume that it's going mid lane, but the Alistar here would be a, a decent choice as far as supports go, but would hurt the early levels.
Yeah, but I think you need engage on Fnatic. I think that's the biggest problem that you're seeing right now. Like, you have the Renekton who needs an enabler. Alistar are going to play into that role. But when you look at what G2 Esports have kind of drafted already, like, Brand loves when you try and play into him. Ezreal, a very, very safe pick. And now you can also pick more here for G2.
Zyra, maybe?
Yeah, where you could even play for, hey, take his eyes, something that can do well with this kite back style, where Fnatic have to play into this very, very dive-centric composition.
Yeah, they're running down the clock for now, but there's that Jayce that we were talking about. A lot of poke on the side of G2. Now the question is, will they round out with that Zyra, or does Hans have something else prepared for us? Again, so many AD carries banned in this draft.
I mean, it's really tricky right now at this point for Fnatic, as you highlighted, Rob, right? Both compositions really kind of want people to come into them. The Zyra, the Brand, both want people to base check them, but if G2 are just going to outrange, then they can just poke. They don't need to be the ones to force that fight. MF going to be the lock-in here. MF notoriously weak against Ezreal, but they already took it for themselves, so they have the comfort knowing that she's pretty good against a lot of the existing meta. Now that so many ADs have been banned away.
Well, we've seen her rise up in party a heap over in the LPL, where she's just been that very heavy lane bully style where you can really start to get a lead going, and then when you come into team fights, because you've got strong setup coming through from pieces like the Leoona, or even if you have to try and play into her, that bullet time can do a ton of work. So I think Fnatic going to have their work cut out for them, because a huge amount of this game is going to rest on Jhin's shoulders. How good can he get that engage off when you've got so many long-range damage dealers that are on G2 Esports side?
I like G2's comp more simply because I see very clearly how you execute it, right? It seems very aligned with what it wants to do. It has a huge amount of poke. It's got great objective control. It can either, I mean, I think you're happier if the opponent starts the objective first, and then you get to leverage your poke. You get to determine the rules of the fight almost. I would argue that their frontline only being Leoona does, of course, increase risks, which means that Fnatic definitely have team fighting tools. If they can get on top of the squishies, this Renekton can do some serious damage, but yeah. We've also got to talk about lane priority. Top and bot, they're going to be a struggle for Fnatic.
Big time. This is where I think they're really going to struggle, because the way you want this game to go as Fnatic is you get an early lead, you get to set up an objectives and go, cool, we can look for flanks, look for creative angles to get access to this backline, because if you can get onto Brand, if you can get onto MF, they're not getting away very easily, but trying to get that control when you do have side lane priority in the beginning for G2 is going to be very difficult for Fnatic.
Something tricky to navigate. Fnatic G2 fans in the house tonight, you can hear them on the stream. Always love the passion that comes out when these two teams meet face to face as we get ready for our first game in this best of 5. The fans raring to go. Of course, both teams the luxury of an extra life if they do fall down here, but the winner going straight to finals. Reminder, the winner of the finals of Summer guaranteed a spot at World Season Finals. Of course, they'll want to get a higher seed than third, but they're guaranteed at least that if they can win Summer overall, and this is one step closer to that prize.
Last year, G2 were frustrated that they dropped Spring. They wanted, coming into this year, to win every single title throughout the year, including the season finals. Of course, so far, they've been on track. They had a pretty impressive MSI performance overall, considering the expectations, while they did flounder at the very end. They've made their expectations very clear, and they set that bar very high for themselves. Fnatic were a team that, coming into this split, we had high expectations for. We thought that maybe this is the final version of Fnatic that can really challenge G2, and their split hasn't gone as smoothly. They've had some ups and downs, they've had some very awkward circumstances, and we'll get to see now if this is the final form of Fnatic.
Noah extending the trade, wants to get the 4th shot off, but won't be able to, as G2, just knowing the Alistar level 1, not that threatening, feel comfortable to walk up and get information on where Razork is starting. Now just returning to lane, we'll have first access, can take control here early on, but I think it's an excellent point, Vedi, right? Fnatic started so damn good. We talked to Nightshare about it. He was like, I'm really nervous about this G2 game if it just booms us mentally. And then it was a 6-game loss streak, right? And now we're in a situation where it's not one game against G2, it's an entire best-of-5 series. And while there's so much history here, right, you look at this roster and you know the Fnatic fans want to see that win. They want to see the reignition of a rivalry that has been for quite some time pretty one-sided.
And it feels like it's been an uphill battle for Fnatic to try and get that control in this matchup. It feels like G2 has always been that step ahead of them. But coming off the back of an unfortunate kind of series of losses, we got to see Fnatic revitalized in their last series, where game 2, game 3 really felt like we're getting back to that old Fnatic, and I think that's what a lot of the Fnatic fans are looking to see, is that Fnatic that really took on GX in that game 3, stepping up here again against G2.
Now, as you can see, priority for Fnatic is not going great. In the top lane, the Renekton is naturally struggling against the Jayce. In the bot lane, Alistar can't really do much to fight against this misfortune Leoona, and so they've stacked up an ice wave on the bot side of the map. There is no brand here for a dive, so Fnatic are not going to run the risk of that. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, things relatively even. Of course, 2 AD carries going toe-to-toe. Lucian is a champion that can trade quite easily. I imagine that the Ezreal may struggle in the early levels, as you can see in the slight HP discrepancy. But we'll see how Yike looks to leverage the control that he has, because early dives are always a possibility, and as I say that, he might be looking top lane right now.
Yike instead, perhaps turning his attention mid lane. Not quite sure where he wants to go. Hesitates for a moment now. Pings, wards, back and forth. And I think mid lane might be where he needs support, because you highlighted it. It's not just the health difference, it's the mana difference. Ezreal not able to push nearly as well as the Lucian. Has to queue for damage. Lucian gets to queue through everything and do damage. You see it all in on the top side. Oscar potentially overcommitting here. Hammer Stand's doing a lot of work from Broken Blade. Pops the biscuit for a bit extra mana, but won't be able to finish the kill.
Here comes Yike, though. Gonna see if he can try and stop him before he resets. Should have the pillar of flame. There it is!
Oh, that's the combo, baby! Q flash E. Doesn't give him a chance to react. Instant one pop, no flash coming out from Oscar. No time to do anything.
Beautiful stuff from Yike. Saw his opportunity, and I love the pathing early from Yike here. He ended up trying to clear out his bottom side, finished on Krugs, so then he was there to cover if Razork went for a potential play on bot. Then rotates up towards the top side as well, and then immediately is there when BB gets the outplay on Oscarinin. Great stuff in the early stages from Yike.
Razork looking for something to cross map, sees the Raptors respawn, but Yike already back out onto the map. Smites are available, but it will be secured by Razork. So a small win for Razork to at the very least get something back, leveraging the control that he has in mid. As the bot lane also looking for a base. Dragon going to be spawning in about 30 seconds. The scary thing about these super fast clearing junglers is how quickly you can set up for these objectives. We'll see if either team looks to prioritize the early dragon, or instead if it will continue to be a grubs, as it often is for these teams.
Yeah, that's where I think it's going to be, because even look at the way bot lane set up at the moment. Hansama did have to burn his flash, but you can see he's got that slow push out coming in on the bottom side, which means he'll be able to reset in time for void grubs. Leoona for Mikyx has already reset, is now starting to get back out onto the map, so it feels like you're looking for these plays around mid lane with Caps TPing back in to see if maybe you can set up for that void grub right as it spawns in just 50 seconds.
Hansama is flashless, so potentially an avenue of attack if they do want to go for it. Of course, Strut was buffed. You do need to put more points into it if you want to receive full benefits from the buffs, but a bit of extra movement speed earlier means Hansama getting to lane that much faster. Happy to pick up this farm as both supports pretty content to leave bot lane and look to make plays elsewhere. Humanoid finally getting a chance to reset. Waited for Caps to go first. I guess kind of the downside of the Ezreal, right? Obviously, you have to go tier early, which is really going to hurt some of those trades. And if it does mean infinite Qs, it doesn't mean infinite damage. Jhin, though, now backing up, does not have level 6 quite yet. Aftershock already procced, already taken away. Caps firing a little bit more damage down. Flash coming out from Jhin. Means he'll walk away. And G2 take control of mid, but Jhin walks away alive.
Nice little sidestep there from Jhin at the very end to dodge the Q from Caps. Ultimate does come through, not going to connect onto Jhin. He will be able to go back to base safely. The problem is he does lose that flash, only at the expense of the ignite from Mikyx, so more pressure gained in favor of G2. Fortunately for Fnatic, no major objective gained. As I say that, Yike going to be starting off the grubs.
Razork trying to punish. Nice double dash through into the stun. Flat. Oh, the timing there. Just a little bit off. Razork and Oscarinin out of sync. We're not able to layer the CC.
Just about able to get away from that one on the top side. So already you can see Hansama and Noah, at least on this bottom side. This is where I was trying to look towards. One of the things we've noticed with Fnatic a lot is that when they move towards Void Grubs, at least in that first and second rotation, they'll oftentimes leave Noah there, and they're heavily reliant on Humanoid and Jhin to try and make these plays in mid or make these plays in the fight to try and secure early Void Grubs. But I think it's a good read from G2 to say, hey, we're not going to go for that. We're going to leave Hansama there so you don't get plates onto Noah. And now just having the cover on top side, but Yike just misses on that Q.
He chose not to go for the combo there. Actually started with his E rather than doing the Q into E combo. Regardless, Oscarinin ends up getting away. We now turn our attention to the bot side of the map. I noticed that Jhin was actually walking towards top and then actually went from top lane all the way down to the bot side. The fact that Brand now appears top lane is a big win for Fnatic because it allows them entry into G2's bot side jungle. They've set up some nice vision. Humanoid is here to cover as well. This red buff going to be the objective, but not quite able to steal it.
Just in time to take it. G2 regaining control, and now the engage goes in from Mikyx. Cap standing off to the side, isolated in the 1v1 with Humanoid. Coling now coming out, luckily able to walk away, but now the curtain call going through. Big damage on Hans Sama, look for the third and the fourth bullet. Mikyx trying to step up the body block, but the damage just not quite enough. The plant not targeting him. Hans Sama, 15 HP.
Hans Sama barely scraping away from that one. Didn't have the flash to try and escape, but that barrier just about enough. And even Yike's ultimate in that one did so much work on the Fnatic health bars.
I mean, we're seeing the consequences of Jhin not having his flash available either. He's doing his best to keep the rest of his team alive to be able to help them get out of that situation. But then once he dives in, there is no way for him to get out. G2 secured themselves another kill.
Difficult for Jhin, especially as he's already behind an XP. You can see about a half a level difference between him and Mikyx. Level 4 getting closer to 5, while Mickey's getting closer to 6. Alistar really wants that break point. Wave will crash on top side, giving Oscarinin the chance to reset. Broken Blade, though, still sitting comfortably. And you can see the gold across every single farming role except for mid lane. G2 pulling ahead. Humanoid the only one really able to hold his own, but running out of mana here in this mid lane. Might need more support as Cap's very hesitant to walk forward.
You got Mikyx on the way as well, but I think for the moment it's more going to be a case of trying to make sure that there are no plays that can happen. You know that with the Jhin out of the map, Mikyx kind of needs to cover, and they just want to make sure Caps can farm up and get to a point where he hits kind of the 1.5 to 2 items, and he can really be a major threat. Yike now again kind of doing the same thing, just covering, so Caps can crash this wave, especially with how strong Humanoid is off just even these early levels.
Caps even willing to E forward into range of Humanoid. Mikyx not quite level 6 yet, though. Not going to have the ulti available, but I don't know if they care.
There's no cleanse. There's no tenacity. Q flash forward. E, the chain CC, flawless. Caps leaping in to finish the job. They didn't even need his damage, but they're happy to give him the gold.
Beautifully executed by G2. Mikyx uses the initial Q stun to guarantee the Zenith Blade, and then it's just the easy follow-up for Yike, with Caps being able to finish him off. And a Broken Blade, getting a couple of taps here against Oscarinin.
Oh, acceleration gate. Oscar flashing to try to extend the trade. How much longer on the slice and dice? Really wants to go for this. A little bit more damage coming in from the Dominus. Can he make it out from the tower as well? Oscar dashed away, blinking health, but he makes it happen. Excellent punish, seeing all of G2 in the mid lane.
A huge solo kill for Oscar, for the team. They will concede another objective in the Dragon, but at the very least, Oscar making this laning phase a little bit easier. You can see he's down a lot of farm, a decent amount of gold, but that kill is going to make the side lane a little bit easier for him moving forward.
BB hasn't had the best of luck in this Jayce so far, so may not have been the best look against BDS and is struggling here again, but the engage on boss.
Ulti gonna be traded. Hans Sama getting knocked off, only slightly interrupted on the bullet time. Ignite now ticking, 4th shot, good damage. Noah does have the ulti, but not really the space to use it. Deadly Flourish not gonna hit either. But Noah playing pretty confident. He continues to step up. G2 still have control of the lane, however, as the rest of Noah's team has to back away. Health bar simply too low.
I feel like in the back of my mind, I could hear a small monologue from Dagda saying, if this wasn't Jhin, they would have done more damage. But
Look, at least you could read it in my eyes, and I didn't have to say, you know.
Is it personal?
Jhin does have ulti.
Curtain call.
Yeah.
Mikyx gonna body block. I don't think he can block all 4.
No, he can't.
Sama's gonna step up.
He missed.
He was clearing the wave, Betty. He realized he wasn't gonna get the kill.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't actually
Because
know
he's
if that's,
Jhin.
or he missed. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, we just.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I missed this.
We
Happened.
missed this entirely.
Yeah, Oscar overstayed in top lane. Broken Blade said, "All right, wait."
All right.
Does he get? Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Oh.
The outplay, holy moly!
What was that?
Blade.
We're like broken ankles.
Oh, you just didn't know where to go. That's not your turret, buddy. Yeah, anyway, pretty big punish. Oscar really wanted to get the execute there, but that sucks because, again, the gold lead had shrank to 300 last time we looked top. It's back up to about 800, and that's just a bit of a oopsie from Oscar. Wanted to save the lane state, was willing to pay with his life to make that happen.
Especially since you're kind of struggling across the board to keep these towers healthy. Like, BB is getting some nice chip damage on the top side. There's already 2 plates gone in mid thanks to that initial dive on the mid lane. And even on the bottom side, Hansama is getting some extra help as well. So definitely want to try and keep these side lanes in check. But now Yike up here to make sure Broken Blade again could try and crash this wave. Yike's been doing a great job of covering his laners this game.
Nice root, immediate follow-up damage. Oscar, no flash to follow, but get the flash out of Yike at the very least, making the dive that much less threatening. Oscar quick to clear the wave, doesn't want to risk any follow-up.
Good job from Razork there, ultimately covering his top laner as well. And getting a flash out from Yike is definitely a nice win to grab. 3-3 in grubs. The dragon spawns in about 2 minutes time. We turn our attention to the top laners once again, and you can see that it's been overall very positive season for the both of them. I think that Broken Blades, we think back to, I mean, primarily through playoffs. The start of the year was definitely more Oscarinin favored. Oh, sorry,
Sure.
summer, I should say. Where Oscar was just having a great start with Fnatic as G2 was kind of ramping back up following MSI. But as we got into playoffs, question marks surrounded Oscar's performance, and I think that he really has come into his own. Finding a solo kill is definitely an example of that, one of many. But we think back to his Olaf performance as well, one where he really had a massive impact on the game. And so these two top laners could very well be influential as we move forward. But right now, we find ourselves in a situation where Broken Blade continues to build a lead, and it's just the nature of the matchup. As Fnatic continue to slowly fall behind, doing their best to fight for whatever objectives they can.
Yeah, you need to try and find something. But I do like the way that at least Fnatic have tried to set up some vision on this top side. You can kind of look and see that they've already gotten like a bunch of wards set up just to try and spot out whenever Yike makes his way up here. And that's why I think Razork was able to get into position to cover some of these dives on the top side. And as long as you are preventing G2 from extending these leads, you are in a good spot because Fnatic can eventually try and force these fights. We're on the bit more of an even footing.
It's also just a future investment for the Herald, the spawning in 10 seconds,
Exactly.
right? So they set themselves up nicely. They have a potential TP flank available to them. Hansama leveraging the movement speed to get a nice trade onto Noah as both teams actually posture on the bot side of the map.
Jhin ready to start the fight, has level 6, doesn't have to be too concerned as Fnatic fight for a bit of space here, want to protect this crucial Tri-Brush ward. A lot of abilities, just
everything.
Yeah, just a lot of
Man ain't ruler.
I was going to bring up a fun stat earlier, but I might not have time as Caps.
Definitely does not win that trade. Now the engage, though. Nice flash back from Mikyx to get away from the headbutt pulverized combo. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Hansama solo breaking in that tower. Blast Cone conveniently there. Humanoid getting the kill back. They lose the mid lane tower, but at least they'll get one in the bottom lane, and now Fnatic looking to keep the pressure up.
Yeah, the Kraken proc was huge right at the end, just able to get that last little bit of damage onto Mikyx. I think the extra resistances from his W had just faded off as well, so
yeah.
perfect timing from Humanoid just to get that last shot.
My instinct was that Humanoid was actually going to let him go, but I think it was the passive hit both the blast and Mikyx. So well played there by Humanoid, really understanding the limits of his champion. Dragon now being started up. Both junglers are here. Resets coming through.
2 AP junglers. Neither wants to get auto-attacked by the dragon.
But Razork just buying time for his team to join the fight. Ultimate, and flash. Should be easy setup now for G2. Where are the top laners? They don't care right now. Their priority is still top lane. Hansama turns his attention to mids. And it looks like Fnatic, they have to concede this objective, which has to feel frustrating. They get that kill onto Mikyx, but unfortunately they can't convert it into a dragon, and G2 just find another advantage to add to their laundry list.
Yeah, as everyone who's played Plants vs. Zombies knows that whenever you get sunlight involved in that bottom side, the plants disappear, and then I wasn't expecting the dragon update to come through so soon, but I'm glad that they've added that, you know.
Look, man, Sunflower's root of everything. It brings it all together. That's the economy advantage G2 have assembled here, but the gold lead only continuing to grow. Look, 3K for them. And this has to be frustrating because both supports are trying to get active on the map, but in the 1v1, Hansama has been doing a ton of work. Bloodthirster first,
Oscar.
but now Fnatic looking to take it back in the fight. Big damage onto Jhin. Ignite already taking that count. Needs to get the hell out. Broken Blade coming in as well. Mikyx locked up. Curtain call there, but Noah has completely stunned himself and is going to have to back away. Broken Blade, luckily no mana to follow up with an accelerated shock blast. Can't see his inventory, but I'm assuming no cookies left at this point in the game. So G2 not going to be able to find anything else. Hansama continuing to step up. And again, this Misfortune pick is so frustrating. She's bad against a lot of the conventional ADs in the meta, but they were all banned away. Now you just get to build Bloodthirster, strut around the map, and Jhin can never out-trade you. I feel so bad for Noah in this game.
Just started blasting and they all disappeared. But great job from Caps on the opposite side, right? Like, ends up hitting the ultimate onto both Humanoid and Jhin, which really prevented the follow-up from Fnatic. So even though Oscarinin had a great flank opportunity, now they're in a disastrous position where bot lane's gone. Broken Blade's flashing forward.
Blade, full committing, good damage, no mana, but he doesn't need it. One more auto, swaps forms, hammer into the cannon, and down goes Humanoid.
He makes it look easy. A big punish. Broken Blade, he got solo killed earlier, but he wasn't going to let that stop him. Now with a 1.7k gold lead, the Eclipse fully completed. Another threat on the side lane. G2 just continue to build gold leads. And this is one of the concerns we highlighted in draft. When you can see this much lane priority, especially against a team like G2, they're the type of team to leverage it. They will secure these plates. They will use their priority to secure objectives. And the only objective they've lost so far was the second respawning of the Grubs. But aside from that, their control has been fantastic. And Fnatic continue to fall further and further behind. And the thing about that previous skirmish in bot lane, it's a representation of what's to expect moving forward. You broke it down in the draft, Dagda, where they try to walk in, and it's just so much poke.
One, I think the problem is that neither of these teams really wants to be the one to walk in. But again, because G2 have the range advantage, they don't have to. They get set up first, and right now, because they're winning their lanes, they get prio first. So if Fnatic are ever walking up to face check, they're taking a ton of upfront damage to the face, and G2 are under no pressure to stick around. They can just back up, reset, and do the same thing again.
The way that you can misplay a comp like this is if you actually overforce the objective, because starting the objective can sometimes hamstring your options. So instead, you will see what you saw earlier, kind of Yike and Razork kind of squaring off, and it's actually more about just trying to force summoners. It's about chip damage, and then once G2 do enough damage and Fnatic can't contest anymore, then they sell the objective. And it's the same for Fnatic. Ideally, they want to be in a position where, as Dagda was highlighting earlier, they can find a flank. Maybe they can get onto the backline. They can use Alistar and Renekton to close that gap.
Yeah, and that's where you start the good, the bad, and the ugly theme song. Just get you in the mood for that standoff to make sure it doesn't happen. But I think as G2 are moving in here, we're probably going to see a very similar story, which is trying to get into a position where they can land this poke. And you see it here, right? Caps off to the side. It makes it very difficult for you to really try and engage onto anyone in particular because they're not in one area. And now with the Rift Tower going down as well, poke comes over the side.
Excellent follow-up. Misfortune ult as well. Jun's in, but it's too little. It's too late. The calling is there, but now Caps was confident to step in. It's a little bit psycho, but Mikyx more than happy to follow him as Caps grabs the kill onto Humanoid. Curtain call coming in for Noah, but the Herald Mountain was going to be there. Mikyx hung out to dry. Hansama also survived. Noah has to be so frustrated, but at least he gets one.
Can we just talk about the fact that Caps had Flash? Caps had Flash, and then he took Herald from Mikyx, and then said, "You're on your own, bud."
Look, I'm not sure what philosopher said it, but a wise philosopher once said, "Sucks to suck." But, so a bit of a sellout there.
Yeah, we need to ask Caps about that. Unbelievable.
Because I was like, Caps could have just flashed over the wall. He would have been out of the range. It was totally fine. He just...
Don't worry, we got video evidence.
Yeah. So, like, I actually really like the setup here. Caps to the ult across the way. Great ultimate from Mikyx. The follow from Hansam was absolutely great. Jhin, unfortunately, just isn't tanky enough to try and deal with everything that G2 have here. But as the tower goes down, like, great engage from Mikyx. But here, Caps can't flash this wall. Like, can't get hit. But instead, he just takes the Rift Herald and says, "Peace, love you, bud. Have a good one."
I will also say...
he knows. He knows.
Yeah.
It's like, trust me, bro, it's good. We didn't give shutdown.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, the other thing is, Fnatic didn't get to play the game.
Yeah.
Just like, Jhin went in, but there was nothing. There was a culling there.
The problem is they're outranged. They didn't have vision over the wall, so they weren't set up. And this is one of the things that also makes Leoona frustrating. Obviously, the general removal of most of the tenacity in Runes and Masteries has helped her immensely, but also the range of Solar Flare, the non-committal engage, is part of what makes her so frustrating to play against, because you can just throw it out and see what happens, and if it connects, the follow-up is so easy.
And I'm thinking ahead probably further than I should, but when I think back to the draft, like, they probably should have prioritized an AD carry earlier and then moved the top lane counter pick to later, rather than trying to ban it away. Regardless, Razork setting up for a trap.
Broken Blade cut out here a bit, but the follow-up,
I mean, it's good damage, but now Razork
is out of abilities. Fnatic, a bit of desperation. G2 smell it, and they like what they smell.
And now the jungler's dead. Baron is up for grabs.
Oscar And again, just hoping for that angle. Noah here. No one else really contesting. Mikyx might just lose his life in the process. Hansama ready to ult. Big damage onto Noah, but it's not going to hit too hard. Brandel also going to fizzle a bit. G2 potentially overeager. Humanoid on the way in. Caps just continuing to poke. Jhin has to pick his moment to engage very carefully. Flash forward from Caps. Full committal. Jhin with the follow-up. A broken blade off on the side. They're in enemy territory. They're in the wrong base. Noah's trying to do some damage, but he's only got 4 bullets. And it's just not enough to finish the job. Humanoid will try to get the consolation tower mid, but it's a catastrophe.
Noah needed about 40 more bullets to make anything happen. Humanoid has that, though.
Yeah. Sadly, 40 did not outweigh 1 shock blast, it turns out.
Yeah.
Landed not as good as electricity in this particular
Oh,
universe. No,
Oh, no! Caps is unstoppable. He gets himself another kill 22 minutes in. The kills are 13-4. A Baron is on the cards. Caps is TP. He's not going to give Razork anything.
And I just think that G2 obviously executing fantastic.
I think at this stage, you kind of just needed to call it. They thought maybe to get the pick onto Mikyx, but with the bone shards and also then having the W up and available as well, there was just nothing that you could do to take him down. And then it's just G2 chasing down, using that range when like Noah just can't really get in to deal any damage here.
And you feel bad for Oscar, right? Because he's just so hamstrung at this point. He's outranged. You get these wonderful games with Renekton where you feel like a powerhouse, you feel like a crocodile. This is like the guy on TikTok who's like, oh, that's a nice swamp puppy, yoink.
But I think that's why they wanted to go for the Jhin here, was like, hey, look, we need some sort of utility AD carry to be like, enable Oscarinin and enable the chase down, but you're just never getting to actually set up with Noah to get that position.
I mean, my instinct was also that they needed something that could contest the MF in lane to a degree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if you went for something like a Jinx, you would have been dived all the time, right? So, I mean, I kind of understand the logic, but right now it hasn't worked out. And G2 with a Baron set their sights on Fnatic's base, and they're looking to have what has been a very clean game 1. Fnatic putting up very little resistance, the inhibitor sure to follow. Humanoid still top lane, no TP. Fnatic, I think they might just lose the game here.
Recalls, Caps, ulti gonna go completely wide here. Nice E out to get away. Strangleruns will grab him. Curtain call, generate a little bit of space. Humanoid finally here. Fnatic, they've given up a tower, but maybe this is their fight now. Mikyx full engage. Humanoid continuing to just lay down a little bit of damage. The Lucian really starting to hurt. Jhin, solid engage. Interrupt on the culling is big though. Coming in from Mikyx, and the ulti from Razork just not effective. And now the bullet time, baby! Humanoid walking into face tag. It must love the taste of lead. He and Noah are just forced to retreat.
Fnatic just walk into everything that G2 had unloaded, and it was the best option they had. But it's not a good option at the end of the day. Now Noah getting peppered down as the Nexus is at the same.
Got the last shot, but
they're hesitant to end. They're aware of the health discrepancy. Mikyx's gone back to base, who's their front line. Dragon available in 50 seconds, and they say, you know what? We'll play it safe. That's an open Nexus. We've done more than enough damage. Let's not throw it here.
Oh.
But I think you called it right, Dagda. I think that was Fnatic's best case scenario. I think they found a pretty solid fight. That is what a best case fight looks to them, where the Alistar gets on top of the backline, the Renekton is there as well, their carries are following up, the Jhin ultimate is flying. Unfortunately, we're at a point where the wallet diff is just too big, and MF could literally just stack there.
Well, and it's just a situation where you highlighted it earlier, as long as the composition with an advantage, when both compositions are so similar, doesn't overcommit, it's really hard, right? We saw Razork throws down his ultimate, but G2 are already backing up. Fnatic step forward, and who else is ready with a counter engage but Hansama with that misfortune ult? It's really whoever overcommits first dies, unless you have a 9,000 gold lead, in which case you can overcommit a little.
Fnatic expected G2 to go for the soul, and they've just abandoned it, and they've run it down mid.
Oh no.
Feels a little different when you say run it down mid and they're winning the game, buddy.
Yeah.
Fnatic, okay. Inhibitor standing, Mikyx ult down. Potential for a fight for an angle. They need a lot more to win the game, but this could at least buy them a bit more time.
The poke.
I mean, the Bloodthirster shields are going to be so frustrating to deal with, right? The poke, the HP advantage just continues to grow in favor of G2. Even with the fountain behind them, Fnatic are losing HP trades.
But you can see how little damage Noah does with these auto attacks. The Static Shiv Rapid Fire Cannon isn't very threatening, and now Oscarin's gone in.
Ulti from the brand. Oscarinin desperately trying to follow up, culling good damage, but making it a body block most of it. They managed to take down the support. Noah off to the side, force shot, not going to hit a low health target, but now the curtain call coming in. Yike in trouble, Humanoid following. Fnatic find a good window here. But have to be careful about overcommitting. 3 carries versus 3 carries. Who's got it? It's like an arena showdown. But Hansama incredibly fast, incredibly strong. Walk forward, one more double up and an auto. Sama on a rampage. It feels like that should just be the end. Humanoid trying to heal up, but Noah now going to be the one in trouble till the skies comes down, but Noah with an excellently timed route. And now Humanoid quick to punish. 280 carries, but Caps, well, he's just TP'd back in and he's going to look to end the game. Or does he want a little bit more fight? And it seems like the answer is fight. Sama, though, disciplined as ever, takes down the Nexus in game 1.
The Nexus will fall. Caps does not quite get the kill onto Humanoid, but it is a decisive win from G2 with the composition that took a high level of execution. They were well able to perform.
I mean, priority lanes, good objective control, and patience in the fights. Overall, very solid game plan from G2. I think Fnatic, they need to reevaluate their priorities in the draft. We'll see how they adapt, because it's a best of 5, and this is only game 1.
Oh man, I feel like that was my best intro ever.
Yeah, not bad, hey, not bad.
Talented.
I can go pro. You know it as well. I also know you can dance. You should join me next time. And yes, I feel like you've also deserved a bit of a break. You've earned it.
Thanks.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Good job.
Hey, thank you.
Red Bull gives you wings.